friends. Sarah K. Grace, psychic paramedic turned holistic first responder, coming to you again to share yet another amazing client case from my actual medical, intuitive, and psychic surgery practice that I've had forever. So these client cases are real, but I changed the names and some specifics to, of course, protect privacy. Today's case we will call Sherry, and Sherry was a 30-year-old female struggling with infertility. So today's client case is around infertility. Sherry came to me from Australia. This was a distance healing session, and she really wanted kids, man. Like, her and her husband had been trying and trying and trying for 5 years. Both had been checked. Everything turned out normal in terms of all the tests, and there was no reason that the doctors could see that she wasn't getting pregnant. And so she had done due diligence in terms of like standard medical checks and things, but she just couldn't understand. So she reached out to see what could be done in terms of psychic surgery and really getting to the roots. So, in sharing about her upbringing, she shared that she grew up in a highly devout Catholic family that was extremely rigid in belief structure. And it was a very tight knit family, very enmeshed in their roles and responsibilities and obligations to not only each other, but to the church and their religion. And as she grew up, I mean, she enjoyed that growing up, but as she grew up, she started to kind of soften around the heavy identification and ideology around Catholicism specifically. But she had so much guilt and she had shame about everything. And it was incredible to talk to her because it's like she had guilt for existing. There wasn't really any area of her life where there wasn't some sense internally that she should feel shameful or she should feel guilt. And so we just dialogued about that a bit and kind of like checked in with it. And she had done some therapy work around it and really kind of softened, like I said, the attachment to the church ideologies. But when we were talking about wanting to conceive, what came up is that she had a huge fear that if she actually got pregnant and had a baby, that baby would take the attention away from her family. And so deep subconscious, she had formed this fear and this block. So when we did the energy work, overall quite healthy, overall quite vital. The cellular capacity was perfusing high. She had a lot of vitality in her cells. She was grounded in her body. For the most part, her meridians were flowing quite well. She's sort of understands the energy world, but she's not like really into it. So she doesn't know how to clear her field but considering that, everything was perfusing quite well, except for the pelvis. So when we go down into the pelvis, and this is using clairvoyant vision, it's scanning each organ system to look at where the blocks are. And going down into the pelvis, there was like this knot, this big old ball right in the middle of the womb. And as it looked kind of like a dust bunny, like the size of a fist. And there was this downward pressure coming from the second chakra and the third chakra. So the third chakra is right by the diaphragm. And if the third chakra, if there's instability, insecurity, fear, shame, self doubt, like issues with original nuclear family, all that stuff, that can perfuse in a lot of ways. But for her, it was creating this downward pressure, and that downward pressure coming from the solar plexus is pushing on the second chakra, which is obviously going to deal with the womb space, right? And this pressure was pushing down onto the actual uterus. And then we had this energetic, gigantic, stuck clob of energy in there. And I was like, well, this is fascinating. What is all of this about? And as we got in there, in terms of scanning, the intention is just to bring awareness to whatever the occlusion is. and then be curious about any information or data that wants to make itself known as a result, because everything is energy, trapped emotion, trapped trauma, old drugs, old, relationship cycles, karmic patterns, ancestral programs, all that stuff gets trapped in different pockets. And this one just happened to be right in the womb. So it's like her system was pushing down. So anytime she would actually get pregnant, it would miscarry almost right away. And I think she had like 5 miscarriages, and they've been trying for 5 years, and she was just at her wits' end. So when I go and I'm looking at this clob of energy, this ball of energy, and I'm just curious about what it is, I just got that deep sense of shame. Oh my gosh, it was so much shame. And I just saw her almost like backed into a corner, frozen in terror that she was going to do something wrong. And energetically looking at her like, "Hey, you okay? What is this?" Speaking to her higher self, I could see the core foundational structure coming from the family and the upbringing and the culture of shame and guilt that she grew up with. And again, the fear that if she had what she wanted, which was to be a mom, that she would somehow be bad, that she would be doing something wrong, or she'd be taking it away from the family. And this was subconscious. Like it took her a while to get to understand while we were talking that that was something that was real for her. But during the energy work portion, it was almost like doing rotor rooting energetically through the first chakra into the womb space. And as we were doing that, it's like bringing just pure light consciousness into the womb space. And she just started weeping, the full body, huge catharsis. And her knees came up almost to her chest. And it's almost like she was in birthing position. And there was this wailing. There was just this like sense of expulsion, wanting to get this old energy that no longer serves out of her physical body. And it was absolutely incredible to witness, because as she had the huge catharsis and release, it literally looked like almost a watermelon size glob of kind of like gooey black energy that just dropped out of her solar plexus, out of her sacrum, through the womb space, and out the root. So, of course, energetically, we transmute and handle that. I'm not just going to let that walk around, right? Just integrate, because all it is energy. So, we'll transmute that and then take care of her, because she's going through such a huge emotional release and was kind of freaked out. She came back to stillness. We wrapped up the session. And at the end of it, again, she looked calmer. She reflected that her mind was like, I don't really understand what just happened, but that was massive in the way of she knew that something had just shifted. And what that was her subconscious and her auric field was finally ready to release that old program of shame and fear, and to open to allowing her to have what she really wants, which was to become a mom. And so, fast forward, she now has a healthy baby girl. And I believe they are thinking about another. So, let me know if this resonates with you. If you have any questions, leave your thoughts and comments in the video chat. Lots of love to you.